Listen, at this point, we may never get the true answer about what was going on with Epstein because the government refuses to release the Epstein files. However, screw the Epstein files. We need the Michael Cohen files because Michael Cohen has all the answers we need. And of course, he's going to lie and hide the truth. But breaking news, Lev Parnas had Ellie on his channel, right? And she said she talked to Mark Epstein, Epstein's brother, and instead of just saying, no, he has no idea who Michael Cohen is or if he had any association with Jeffrey Epstein, he says no comment. Ellie is going to explain why this is a big deal. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into this video, you guys. All right, so let's get into it. So before we start, one, we know Michael Cohen lied. It was said that his lawyers were trying to use Rule 35 and give information so he can get out of jail sooner. It was found out also that Michael Cohen was basically the fixer. And also he had dealings with this whole weird case about a baby in an empty parking lot. But the only situation that we knew about in 2016 with a Jane Doe was Katie Johnson. And so Ellie goes over why that whole story is bullshit. And Katie Johnson was the only case around that time in 2016. Let's get into it, you guys.
With Michael Wolff, I'm not really interested in talking to him and arguing with him and being a target from him because I know how he treats people. I know how he treats women. I know how he treats journalists. But I do feel that my role is to keep digging and investigating and finding some of these bits of information that either clarify what he's saying or deny what he's saying. The thing that I cannot connect that he continues to say as he talks about this Jane Doe case, when people bring up the Katie Johnson case, what you have to remember is when this woman, Katie Johnson, originally filed her case against Epstein and Trump, she was listed as Katie Johnson, which was a pseudonym. And then she withdrew and then she refiled again as a Jane Doe. And that happened, I'm trying to think, that happened in September. So she first filed in April, she withdrew, and then she refiled in September of 2016. So kind of right before that election. He claims that there was another Jane Doe case where there was a Mary Jane Doe and there was an infant, and either he or an investigator sent by him went out into the Bronx to find this Jane Doe, which sounds sketchy to begin with because that means they were approaching Jane Does, which to me sounds like a threat anyway.
And we do know that he has threatened victims before.
He went there and that their house didn't exist and that it was just a parking lot. There is no record of that case. And I have dug and I'm happy to have anybody prove me wrong and say, well, here's the case. There's no record of an infant Jane Doe. There's no record of a Mary Jane Doe. The only Jane Doe so there were 4 Jane Doe cases filed against Donald Trump. There was the Katie Johnson case. There was a Jane Doe case filed in October of 2016. There was a Jane Doe case that was a challenge to the Muslim ban in 2017. And there was a Jane Doe case that had to do with transgender military personnel also in 2017. So the latter two, I'm guessing, have nothing to do with this. The second Jane Doe case, which is considered to be separate from the Katie Johnson case that was filed in October of 2016, lists a 13-year-old Jane Doe who attended 4 parties with Donald Trump. And that's exactly word for word the Katie Johnson case. It's the same case. And so if he's saying that he's not...
Remember, Katie Johnson filed as a Jane Doe first and then filed under the pseudonym Katie Johnson. So, and mind you, it was 3 times that she did it and then finally dismissed it before the election.
Going after Jane Doe, who is Katie Johnson. He's not looking for this woman who probably brought up one of the most horrific stories between Epstein and Donald Trump in this case. She was 13 years old. If that's not her, then I don't know who it is. This person doesn't seem to exist on the record. But this also occurred all at the same time, and it also occurred all right before the election. And so a couple of things that I'm working on. Number one is I know 2 people who knew Katie Johnson, who have spoken to Katie Johnson, who knew her, have verified she's a real person. One of these people I know better than the other person. So I'm reaching out to both of them to see if there was ever an interaction with Michael Cohen. They would know. They can either verify it or they can say, no, he never contacted her. I have my concerns with why she withdrew her case. She was about to go public right before the election. She was about to have a press conference with her lawyer, Lisa Bloom. And she withdrew 4 days before the election because of threats. This was at the height of Michael Cohen's fixing with Donald Trump. Now, again, this is conjecture. I don't know for sure if that's why, but I want to find out. Because also,
Trump does have, I mean, you're a businessman, so of course you have multiple lawyers, but Michael Cohen was the main one. And especially with cases that dealt with any kind of sexual assault or cheating or hush money or trying to cover it up, it was Michael Cohen. Again, he was the fixer.
You know, in this story, and this is something that I had mentioned to you, Lev, before, is in this story, we've been told, at least since the beginning of my interactions with Michael Cohen, that he had nothing to do with Epstein. He knew nothing about Epstein, which, you know, he was there pretty much the entire time. So I have my doubts about that, but I also have been able to talk to Mark Epstein. Mark Epstein is somebody who I have interacted with.
Here we
and
go.
Mark Epstein, you have to be very careful talking with him. He is somebody who undoubtedly has some kind of gag orders. He has set a lot of boundaries with our conversations. And so I generally send him one question at a time, maybe every 2 weeks. But when the answer to my question is no, it is a definitive no. I have a list of questions that I sent him where he said no, 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 never, no, no. And that was how he answered the email. When I asked him, were you ever approached by Michael Cohen? His answer was not no. His answer was no comment. And that is not something that he has ever said to me, because he always says no if the answer is no.
Wow.
And I said, thank you.
This reminds me of when, you know, that deposition where Jeffrey Epstein was asked, has Trump ever socialized with you with underage girls? And he said, I like to invoke my Fifth Amendment. This reminds me of that. Like, these are clear yes or no answers. And if you, my friend, and you know me, and you know that I ain't done nothing, you would say no. But to say no comment, or in the Jeffrey Epstein case where he said, the deposition where he said, I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment. What? You can't give a flat out yes or no? Man.
And I left it at that. So I have a lot of doubts. I have a lot of concerns. And again, I don't have anything to detail this. And so I can't say, you know, here's my evidence. There it is on the table. But I'm now starting to get little tidbits of information that do not add up in this case. And so I don't want to let go of it, right? I don't want to say that was a big story for that week, but then something else happened and so we moved on. Like, there's something here that I'm not going to let go of, and I'm going to keep digging. And the thing about the Epstein files is a lot of people there's like a DOJ search tool for the Epstein files. You can go in, there's a little search bar, you can type in a name and it will search the entire list of files and everything they've given us and tell us if something's in there. And it will tell you that it doesn't work very well, because these PDFs were turned into photos, were turned back into PDFs, and they're not searchable. And so if you...
It doesn't work, by the way. I've tried it and it still doesn't.
Don't find someone's name using that search tool, it does not mean that they are not in the files. It just means that it was not able to pick it up using the search tool, which is 80% of the time. And so...
Ellie, can I start the roll only for a second?
Well,
because some people are confused.
I'm in shock. I'm in shock, though, Elliot. This is major breaking news, folks. Wow.
Can you repeat that for people who don't understand? Some people are like, wait, what? Why is it such a big... Can you just repeat it, what you said?
So which part do you want me to repeat?
The Epstein part where he said no on this particular question.
Okay, so with Mark Epstein?
Mark Epstein,
yeah,
the brother.
Okay, so Mark Epstein is somebody that I've been talking to for a couple of months. I'm very careful with my conversations with him. He is very careful. He has very, very strong boundaries about what he is willing to talk about and what he is absolutely not willing to talk about. But he always answers his emails, and he always answers in like 10 minutes. Like, he's very responsive, whether it's on the phone or whether it is in an email. So I have sent him a lot of questions over these, few months.
If you guys know his email, let me know, because I would definitely like to see if I can talk to him. Even if he can't answer directly, there's a lot of questions regarding all of this that that we all want to know. Let's be honest about that. And please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that.
And when the answer to the question is no, he is definitive. He will always say, no, I know nothing. That's not true. I don't know. Like, he's very definitive. He does all caps, he does the all caps thing. But he never wavers. He's never vague. He's always yes, no, black and white. I asked him, I give him space, and I only ask him questions every few weeks because I don't want to lose that interaction. I think he's very important to this case. And so I sent him an email and I said, I don't know if you're seeing all this Michael Cohen stuff. I don't know if you're on Substack. I don't know where you get your information, but here's what has been talked about. And I am curious, were you ever approached by Michael Cohen? I expected him to say no. But he wrote back and he said, no comment. And And that never happens. He doesn't say no comment unless it's something that he's not allowed to talk about. And again, with those boundaries that he's set, his main thing that he's willing to talk about is his brother's jail time and what he thinks happened during that time. And I believe a lot of that stuff is going to come out next month. But when there's something that he's not allowed to talk about or he's not willing to talk about, he says no comment. And that he said no comment.
Oh. Hey,
so if you look at the timing, sorry, go ahead, Lev.
Yeah, before we just go forward, because I don't know, some of it is delayed a little bit, and I just want to do a shout out quickly to my son Aaron, and he's with us right now, and I want people to know, because it's very important, because Michael Cohen is talking about that me and my son are not speaking together. We have a problem, that my son hates me. Well, my son's here in the chat. You guys.
Aaron Parnas, that's the TikToker. Yeah, that's who his father is, Lev Parnas. Yeah.
Could ask him the question. My son loves me. I love my son. We're on the same page, and he is not associated with Michael Cohen. He has nothing to do with Michael Cohen. None of us do. And he supports people like Ellie, Waj, myself, because we're here fighting for the truth. So you guys could ask. I don't know, the chat might be 15 minutes delayed, but go ahead, Waj.
If you want me to leave, that's fine. Ellie is more important, so you can kick me off and bring on Aaron.
No. You're.
But I was just saying, for people, what's common to us isn't common to everyone. So if I can, just 2 minutes to give you a breakdown, folks, so you can all just connect the dots.
Yeah,
and then to kick it back to you, Lev and Ellie. It's about accountability and transparency, right? And when it comes to the Epstein files, as Lev has said, we're learning more.
I'm going to stop right here on their video, but I just want to play you what Michael Cohen said when he was asked about all of this, because again, he denies it. We have to give both sides. So let's go ahead and give both sides to this situation, even though we know it's a lie.
It all started with Tara Palmieri when she asked me a question about the Jane Doe case that was dismissed. And I said to her, the facts.
Why did your lawyers submit that letter saying, in essence, Michael knows a lot of stuff here on Trump and Epstein?
No. That's not what the letter says. What the letter says is that that there's information that he can give. The information is exactly what I'm telling you about, which is the Jane Doe case.
That was the information that you said you could provide on Jane Doe.
Right.
Which still doesn't make sense, because if you just found an empty parking lot, what would entail them to want to release you early from your sentence? And the only reason why he got out early was because of COVID, by the way. But remember Stacey Plaskett, this whole controversy that she was texting Trump during the hearing of Michael Cohen, right? Remember, this was before he went to jail. This was in February 27th, 2019. This was before Jeffrey Epstein was even in jail. And he was texting during the Michael Cohen deposition, or not deposition, but hearing. But what was interesting about this is, why Michael Cohen out of everyone? Now, again, we don't have access to all the files, so we don't know. But why specifically this one? Now, we know Stacey Plaskett is the representative of the Virgin Islands, which that's where Epstein Island was. So yeah, we know that connection. But why specifically during this one? Michael Cohen was the only one who had a hearing. It was a lot of people from the Trump administration that had a hearing. So why Michael Cohen specifically? Have y'all ever wondered that? It just hit me after all of this has came out. Like, wait, wasn't Stacey Plaskett, advised or coached by Epstein during Michael Cohen's hearing? I just want to go ahead and pull up this video so you guys see, because I believe where there's smoke, there's fire. Here we go.
And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only Black people could live that way. Attorney-client privilege, yes, I will turn it over.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Did you review
that only Black people could live that way? Attorney-client privilege, yes.
So again, I wanted to rewind it back a little bit, because Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets. Again, who is Rona? And what does Rona know?
Yes, I will turn it over.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Did you review? Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record? Yes or no?
Yes.
Question: you helped out the president's campaign, or were involved in the campaign as a representative, as a spokesman. Even in your words today, it was your idea for.
That's his assistant.
the campaign dating back to 2011. Is that accurate? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump organization?
They
And
are.
are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
Uh-huh.
The
You got to
Trump
quickly give us
organization.
as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is the Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly
And then he says, good work. But again, was Michael Cohen the only person who knew who Rona Graff was? Or what does Michael Cohen know? You know what I mean? Again, I go back to specifically during this hearing, which was Michael Cohen. This is where Jeffrey Epstein wanted to text Stacey Plaskett about what was going on, or have her advise her to ask him about Rona. Out of everyone that we know of so far, because again, the files haven't been completely released yet. Michael Cohen, you got some explaining to do. But make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, because I got a strange email from a Michael Cohen fan. Yes, a Michael Cohen fan. Or was it Michael Cohen? We'll talk about that in a different show. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. But we out of here.